It was a typical evening at one of New York City's most exclusive restaurants, La Maison Belle, known for its impeccable service, opulent decor, and celebrity clientele. The restaurant was a haven for the city's elite, a place where power brokers, Hollywood stars, and billionaires mingled over plates of truffle-infused delicacies and glasses of vintage wine. That night, however, no one could have anticipated what would unfold. Donald Trump, the former president of the United States and a larger-than-life businessman, had just entered the upscale dining establishment with his entourage. As usual, his presence turned heads, and the atmosphere buzzed with excitement. Patrons whispered to one another, their eyes darting toward the door as Trump strode in, his signature confidence on full display. He was dressed in a sharp navy suit, his tie perfectly knotted, and his hair immaculate as ever. The room seemed to hold its breath for a moment, as if acknowledging the gravity of his arrival. Trump was no stranger to La Maison Belle. He had dined there countless times, often holding court at his favorite table near the center of the room, where he could see and be seen. Tonight was no different. He was seated at his reserved table, surrounded by a small group of advisors and associates, all of whom seemed to hang on his every word. The restaurant's staff, well-trained and accustomed to handling high-profile guests, moved with precision, ensuring that everything was perfect for their most famous patron. But what no one expected was for Trump to find himself in the middle of a confrontation that would shock everyone in the room. The issue began innocently enough. Trump was perusing the menu, his brow furrowed in concentration, when a young waiter named Sam approached the table to take the drink order. Sam, in his early 20s, was relatively new to the high-end restaurant business. He had been working at La Maison Belle for only a few months, and while he had served his fair share of celebrities, he hadn't yet encountered a personality as large as Trump's. Nervous but determined to make a good impression, Sam approached the table with a polite smile. "Good evening, Mr. Trump," Sam began, his voice steady despite the butterflies in his stomach. "May I get you something to drink?" Trump glanced up from the menu, his piercing blue eyes locking onto Sam's. "Do you think I'm the kind of person who orders the same thing every time?" he snapped, his voice cutting through the chatter in the room. The question caught Sam off guard. He had been told by the manager that Trump often ordered a specific cocktail, and he had assumed it would be a safe bet. But now, faced with Trump's sharp tone, he felt his confidence waver. I apologize, sir," Sam stammered, his cheeks flushing. "I just thought." "You thought wrong," Trump interrupted, his tone icy. "I know what I like. Why don't you just do your job and bring me something good?" The tension at the table was palpable. Trump's entourage exchanged uneasy glances, unsure of how to defuse the situation. Sam, meanwhile, was struggling to maintain his composure. He had been trained to handle difficult customers, but this was on another level entirely. Taking a deep breath, he tried to salvage the interaction. "Of course, Mr. Trump," Sam said, forcing a smile. "We have an excellent selection of cocktails. Perhaps I could recommend something new." But Trump wasn't having it. "You don't get it, do you?" he said, his voice rising slightly. "Just bring me something decent. I don't have time for this nonsense." By now, the entire restaurant had taken notice. The low hum of conversation had died down, replaced by an uneasy silence as diners watched the scene unfold. Sam, feeling the weight of their stares, took a step back, his mind racing. He knew he had to handle this carefully, but Trump's dismissive attitude was making it nearly impossible. Before Sam could respond, Trump stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the polished floor. The sound echoed through the room, and everyone held their breath. Trump walked toward Sam, his expression a mix of frustration and impatience. He stopped just in front of the waiter, towering over him. "Listen, kid," Trump said, leaning in slightly, "if you don't have what it takes to do the job, maybe you should find a new line of work." The words hung in the air, heavy and unrelenting. Sam felt a surge of emotions, embarrassment, anger, and a flicker of defiance. He knew he was in over his head, but something inside him refused to back down. Taking a deep breath, he met Trump's gaze. "With all due respect, Mr. Trump," Sam said, his voice steady despite the tension, "I'm just doing my job." And if you're looking for someone to boss around, maybe you should head back to the office." The entire restaurant gasped. For a split second, there was a tense silence, as if the world had paused to process what had just happened. Then, to everyone's surprise, Trump's expression softened. He blinked, clearly taken aback by the waiter's response. The crowd, who had been holding their breath, exhaled as Trump let out a low laugh. "You know what?" Trump said, a grin spreading across his face. "I like you. You've got guts." The tension in the room dissolved almost instantly. Trump turned to the manager, who had appeared at the table, clearly anxious about the situation. "Give this guy a raise," Trump said, gesturing toward Sam. "He's got more backbone than half the people I deal with." The manager, visibly relieved, nodded quickly and promised to take care of it. Sam, still in shock, could only manage a polite "thank you, sir," as Trump returned to his seat. The rest of the evening continued without further incident, but the staff and the other diners couldn't stop talking about the bizarre turn of events. What had started as an awkward, tense confrontation had ended with a surprising twist, and an even more surprising act of generosity from one of the most famous figures in the world. As Trump finished his meal and stood to leave, he stopped by Sam's station once more. "Keep doing your thing," he said, offering the waiter a rare smile. "And if you ever want a job running things in the future, let me know." Sam, still in disbelief, could only nod as Trump made his exit, his entourage following behind him. The restaurant erupted into whispers, everyone still processing what had just happened. Some would say it was a perfect example of the unpredictable nature of Donald Trump, quick to anger, yet quick to change his mind. Others would say it was a reminder that even the most powerful figures can be caught off guard by a display of strength from the most unlikely of sources. For Sam, the night was a turning point. The raise Trump had demanded for him was just the beginning. Word of the encounter spread quickly, and within days, Sam found himself the subject of media attention. Reporters wanted to hear his side of the story, and social media was abuzz with praise for his courage. Some even speculated that Trump might follow through on his offer of a job, though Sam wasn't sure he wanted to trade the chaos of La Maison Belle for the chaos of Trump Tower. One thing was certain, though, Sam's life would never be the same after that night. He had stood up to one of the most powerful men in the world and come out on top. And as he reflected on the experience, he realized that sometimes, all it takes is a moment of courage to change everything.